Hey, I should clean that up. Hey. Hey, my name's David, and today I want to try something different with reviewing music. I have the new Beach House album 7 coming into the mail, and I have the benefit of working from home, so I'm going to get it right away. And what I want to do is just kind of document the listening of it, you know? Just kind of document how I feel while I listen to it. They've done a lot of different things the past couple albums, the last two, and I just want to see how I feel about this one. Haven't really listened to any of the singles. I think I listened to one. Wasn't too crazy on it, but I've kind of kept myself away from it because I wanted a fresh experience. I just kind of wanted to document that and give my review over time, because I feel like you never really get to know an album like in one day, just a couple listens. It kind of evolves, so I wanted to document that evolution. But yeah, should be coming in soon, and we'll check it out. Okay, just got it. Let's see how it sounds. I forgot I got the edition with the t-shirt. Just want to say, I mean, the design's alright. They got that like sweet, soft material. I dig it. So before I kind of start it, I just want to say how I'm kind of planning on listening to this and kind of documenting the experience. I plan to kind of listen to it like this, just boom on the turntable while I work. I think that the way we kind of consume music is not everyone's going to sit down with this album like right away. So I kind of like to just integrate music in with my normal life, and then gonna sit down later, really take it in, do some deeper digging into the lyrics and the album kind of later. But for now, I'm just gonna kind of play it in the background while I work and give my first impressions after that. Cool. Okay, so after first listen, I would say that the first half, and again, this is going to be super broad, literally playing it in the background, but I think it's important to kind of talk about first impressions after just kind of having it there, especially as a someone who's listened to a lot of Beach House's music. I can kind of sense the changes from afar, and for me, I was afraid I was gonna get really bored, because to me it sounded like the first half of the album felt too familiar. I mean, again, this might be because the time between Beach House albums felt a lot shorter, because we had that B-sides in between, and we also had 2 albums at one time. So right now, it feels like I've had a lot of Beach House, which is great, but I think one thing is I was kind of afraid that this sound would sound too similar to some of their other stuff, things they've done before. And the first half, it kind of felt like that, but it felt like it really picked up after the 4th or 5th song of the album, and the melodies felt a lot richer. It still was Beach House, did not really change that much. I think they were talking about their sound being rebirthed or changed, and they haven't done that in this album, I think. But I enjoyed it a lot more. I think the melodies, I think in general, the album felt richer towards the latter half. But I'm going to try out a second listen later tonight when I can kind of sit down with it and see what I think. Okay, I want to get this in because it's late and I'm kind of tired, but okay. I kind of want to talk about my second listen after getting a better idea of it, because that first listen was definitely not ideal, because I just kind of did it while working. And I think with Beach House, at least, I think the best times I've ever listened to their music have been like in the car, at night alone, typical music stuff. But one of my first impressions that kind of came true in the album were, I think the first 2 tracks Dark Spring and Pay No Mind are probably the weakest songs on the album. Again, after one day of listening through it twice, that's kind of what I felt. I'd be interested in how they kind of hold up after repeat listens, but that was just my opinion. Honestly, the middle of the album is where it really comes through. Specifically, Let Me Glow starts to pick it up, but I think it kind of gets better after that. The song that's the French name that I'm not going to pronounce tonight, L'Inconnu, I don't know, but that song by far, after this listen, that song, Drunk in LA, and Dive, Black Car, those 4 songs, fantastic run. The French sounding song, I loved the layered, cascading lyrics, or of just Victoria kind of falling on top of herself, and almost felt like you were in a church or something, like a Catholic church, and just kind of cascading over you. It was great. I loved how Dive kind of just picked up towards the end, and Black Car, musically, it was just so interesting with the amount of layers. I want to kind of go into these lyrically, but just after a second listen, those were like some of my favorite songs, and then still kind of slowed down toward the end of it. I think the middle chunk of this album, after second listen, is the strongest part of it by far. But again, I'd be interested in how it is after another couple days of listening to it. I'm going to probably spend a few more days to really dig into it lyrically and just kind of give it some more casual listens and some more serious listens like I did today. And yeah. Okay. Put it away for the night. Okay. So this is my second day with the album. I've listened to it pretty much all day while I was working, so a solid like 5 or 6 times. And I'm getting a clearer picture of the album. I think I want to think about it a bit more, but one thing I wanted to talk about really quick is, the sound of this album. They had talked a lot about this being their album of, just keep burping, their album of rebirth. The album that they could kind of almost do like a soft restart of the band, because they had put out their B-sides, it kind of flushed their catalog, they had built a studio near them so they could record easier, and about this, just kind of letting themselves experiment. And I don't think it was what I was expecting out of an album that had like experimentation. It still has the core beach house sound, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think their sound is well developed, and they do make tweaks in the album. I love the fact that the live drums, they brought the guy they bring on their live sets, whose name I can't remember, he's now on all the live tracks for these drums, and I will say that they just sound fuller compared to past albums, and I just enjoy the percussion in pretty much all the tracks. But this is not a departure in any sort of way. This is still their sound, and I don't know how I feel about that, because I love the beach house sound, I really do, but I also feel like they could have done more. They had an opportunity, and I feel like they could have done more. I don't think this is quite the reinvention that I heard from them, but it's still really good. I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about that a lot more, about what their sound really is on this album and what that means, or maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm probably overthinking it, but I kind of want to spend another day with the album and just kind of let it, marinate in my mind for a little bit more. Figure it out. Cool. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Ugh. I only listen to these albums at like 1:30 in the morning. Also, small thing, I like this yellow. I like this little screen print they put in the album. I like a good splash of color. I like it. Okay. think I'm ready to talk about this. So, I guess before I get into what I was talking about yesterday, I kind of wanted to go through just like tracks that I really love from this album, because I think the more I listen to it, the more I realize there are so many solid hits. I think this has a much better hit rate in terms of songs than Depression Cherry or Thank Your Lucky Stars had. So probably right off the back, this song didn't hit me right away, but it was kind of a grower for me, and that was the song Pay No Mind. It sounds like a middle school slow dance, and I mean that in the most endearing, nice way possible. It just kind of trogs along, has this melody and tune that just makes you want to rock back and forth. It's a weird place in the track listing. I don't think it should have been their second song. I think they should have put it somewhere in the middle where it matches this darker tone that they have in there. But still, love the song. Lyrically, I'm kind of in a debate whether or not this is a lovely love song or kind of a song that's a little bit colder. Lyrically, it sounds like someone who is in love with someone who's just like waiting to have their love be reciprocated and to kind of feel love back, but and they're just kind of waiting. It's like, pay no mind, it'll eventually happen. They'll eventually fall in love with you. It'll happen, but it never really does. Kind of bouncing back between what it is. I think this is one of those songs I'll be going back to a lot and really digging into. The standout track for me, and this was the one that blew me away when I got time to really sit down and listen, was the song that has a French name that I cannot pronounce right. So I'm going to say it. We're going to see how it is. It's Le Inconnue. Le Inconnue. I have no idea. But musically, this album is so complex and has so many layers. I think it's one of the best songs Beach House has ever put out. Their songwriting on this album in general is great, but this song in particular is one that got me really excited because it sounds really different. It has this the closing track on Depression Cherry. It sounds similar to that, almost like you're in a church and you're in your cathedral and you have Victoria's vocals just kind of cascading over each other in the beginning, and the melody kind of changes up towards the end. It has this very dark, eerie feel to it. The song's title is based off this mask back in France in the 1800s, where a girl died in a river. They thought she had committed suicide, and whoever had her body thought her face was so beautiful they made a mask out of her, and that mask became this popular thing in that culture. And honestly, the lyrics here to me are something that, again, I'm gonna have to dig into a lot more. They're very cryptic. Also, half of them are French, and I don't know French, but that doesn't mean this song is losing anything from that. It is gorgeous, it's full, it's lush, and I think this is the track that gets me excited when they said that something different was happening. I'd love to see them do more of this. I loved it. Now, that track starts off an amazing run of tracks throughout the entire album. The middle portion of this album is golden. I dig it a lot. And the song Drunk in LA has lyrical themes of growing old and decay and aging around you. I feel bad because I think LA is kind of sick at this point of having songs that are about it that aren't happy. I don't think anyone associates that city with hope anymore, but it's musically it's just an easy tune. I don't think it's one of the ones that stood out to me as much, but the lyric and vocal performance by Victoria is one of the best on this album. Lemon Glow and Dive, the two singles that I'd kind of heard before starting this album. In the context of the album, I loved them so much more than individually. Lemon Glow, first of all, just the hook on the song that she sings, it's, what is it? Lemon Color Honey Glow. Every time she sings that, it just, the thing about Beach House that is great is once in a while you're just gonna fall into a trance with their music, and every time she sang that, I did it. Musically, I like the eerie, high-pitched synth loop in the background. I just dig that, and you know, I'm not gonna say this is like my favorite song on the album, but it's definitely the one that was like perfect for their single, and it's just a really easy tune. Dive, I love how the song builds. I think Beach House is one of the best bands who can really build a song to sound epic at the end. You know, the live drums is something that I wish now was on every single Beach House album now that I'm hearing it. You know, it is front and center to the second half of this track where it really builds and gets builds itself up. You know what I'm trying to say. It gets bigger, but in a fantastic way, and I think a lot of that has to do with the drummer they have for this album. He did a fantastic job, and I would love him to be like an actual member of this band. I think switching it up to a trio would be a great idea. The last track on this album, oof, so great. I think Beach House is just great with their closing tracks. Last Ride, the introduction to the song, the piano is gorgeous. The song starts and ends beautifully with this layered guitars at the end. Oof, that outro is just something of its own, and I think I just want to listen to that last 2 minutes of that album on loop for a while. The outro is incredible. Yeah. You know, the more I'm talking about this album, the more I realize there are just so many great hits in it with their own identity. I think the only songs I really didn't like were the opener, Dark Spring, and I wasn't really into Girl of the Year. Again, like lyrically on this album, there's a lot of duality themes of like love but with a catch, or something bad has happened but someone loves them instead of that. And I don't know, Girl of the Year for me, even though I enjoy it lyrically, it kind of jogs on for me. Woo was another one I wasn't crazy about. Lose Your Smile is a great track. I love the acoustic guitar in it. But yeah, I've gone through pretty much all the tracks on this album now, and I feel like, you know, I loved a lot of this album. I should also just talk about the vinyl pressing, because I think I listened to it 10 times because I didn't have the album before it came out. I think there were leaks. I didn't bother with the leaks. But just want to say, you know, Sub Pop always does a great job with their pressings. This one is, you know, keeps up with that reputation. Love the yellow. I know there's other colors, but I personally love the yellow. Love the art that came with it. And also just sounds great. I mean, I listened to it 10 times and I heard no skips, no weird sounds, artifacts, fuzz. It just sounded really great, and good job. It's gonna look great with my other Beach House albums, I guess. I feel like, you know, I loved a lot of this album. But that kind of brings me to the point I was making yesterday was, you know, was this like different enough? And I think that's a sentiment only I'm feeling. I guess after 7 Beach House albums, I really want them to do something different. And I think they did, honestly. You know, they have the live drums, everything's much more upfront in their production, and I enjoy that a lot. But I don't know, for me, you know, something I was thinking about is I think Beach House is kind of like the band Spoon, and nothing, you know, musically or thematically or anything like Spoon, but the one thing that them and Spoon share is the fact that they have this identifiable sound that they can just tweak slightly with each album and have it be amazing. You know, Spoon has an incredible hit rate on all their albums. Each of them have their own identity and are great. And I think Beach House is the same way. I don't think Beach House is ever going to change up their sound dramatically, and I think that's okay. I think that's probably a good thing, and I think I was just kind of psyching myself out about them wanting to be different. I think if I were to see them do something different, I would love to see them strip down even more, get some more of that piano that I heard on Last Ride in there. I think I would love to hear some strings. I'd love to see them bring that into their music. I don't know. I would love to just see a very stripped down, not stripped down like their earlier stuff or even Thank Your Lucky Stars, but like a more organic stripped down sound. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I think it would sound great. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this album. I'd love to know yours and what you thought about the tracks. what you just think about their band. You know, where does this go in their lineup? Yeah, I think for me, I think this is better than Thank Your Lucky Stars and Depression Cherry, but yeah, that's it.